Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my Ordnance Survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome brake services. But although I can always see it in my rear-view mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
Alright, welcome to Chapter 2, called The Buoy. And narration speaks of the M5, which is a major highway, I believe, in Britain. So that must be where the narrator is from, or at least has lived there for a while, before he came here, apparently. And something apparently happened to him on this M5. Perhaps was this Esther he's writing to? Was she there with him when it happened? I'm not sure yet. So here you can see it's a little bit later in the day. The sun is still there, but it's kind of hard to notice actually, but it's actually a bit lower now. You can see that the ambient lighting is a bit darker. And there's a lot of random junk laid around here on this beach. I think I'll come around this way. This appears to be that cargo ship that he was talking about that crashed. And yet, if we look here, there's a steering wheel of a car. So once again, we're getting parts of cars here, and we have still yet to see any road on this island. But yeah, this definitely looks like a cargo ship. You can see the big containers. And the chapter is actually named, again, it's really far off, but it's around the center of the screen. You'll see a small flashing light. That's the buoy that this chapter is named after. It's like an oil drum, and again, car exhaust port, or exhaust pipe, I should say. Exhaust ports belong at Star Wars.
I had kidney stones, and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic, your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
Okay, so it seems that one of the things wrong with him is that he had kidney stones, which sounds pretty painful. I'm not sure if you saw it, but actually there was a small blue butterfly that flew past me as he was talking. So that's at least one very tiny sign of life here on this island. This looks pretty close to about as far as we can get out here.
There must be a hole in the bottom of the boat. How else could new hermits have arrived?
Let's see, can we get down there? Nope. I think this is about as far as we can make it there. But now we'll go along the beach, see if there's anything to see. Nope. Pretty much just standard junk. Wreckage. Gotta wonder, was this filled with yogurt? Luminous paint? What? We don't know. But it busted open. You can hear the ship groaning. Sometimes you're just begging for a jump button, but you don't have one. And unfortunately, we can't actually get on the ship as much as we'd like to. Explore around. So we'll just continue along the beach. There's one of the cans of paint, so maybe it was carrying some of that. And this looks like a radio and phone or intercom system, probably belonging to the boat and got flung out here when it beached itself. Let's see what's up this way. I know that if we backtrack that way between those two hills, that I believe that takes us to the next chapter. I'm sorry, not the next chapter, but the next major part of this chapter. I'm wondering if we can get to that same place through this way.
All night the boy has kept me lucid. I sat, when I was at the very edge of despair, when I thought I would never unlock the secret of the island, I sat at the edge, and I watched the idiot boy blink through the night. He is mute, and he is retarded, and he has no thought in his metal head but to blink each wave and each minute aside until the morning comes and renders him blind as well as deaf-mute. In many ways, we have much in common.
So... Oh, what was that? Did you guys hear someone talking? I thought I did. Huh. Well, sure enough, that is the buoy, as he was mentioning. He's British, so he pronounces it boy. But means the same thing. Apparently he would spend a lot of time staring at it out here on that place where we just were standing, I think. You can see that the beacon is a little bit clearer now, a little bit closer. It's not made, it's depending on which narration you get at the beginning of the game, it's not definitely made clear that that's your goal. But the fact is that with every chapter it gets closer, it starts to suggest the fact that that is the goal. Though why this should be the goal for either our character / the narrator is not really known. And we come down here. This is basically where we showed up. So basically that path will give you a nice view of the, or at least nicer view of the buoy. But that's about it. So we'll take the other path this time and go up to the right. Personally, I'm still looking for some of these dark, shadowy figures in the distance because I've only seen one or two of them so far, in my playthroughs. And I want to see if I can spot any more of them. If nothing else, I know definitely where one is in the last chapter that I'll show you guys, if I don't actually spot any others beforehand. I'm certainly hearing a lot more incidental noises than I remember. That's one thing, at least. Okay, so I believe this takes us back up. We've descended. We went up to the circle of stones, and we descended back to the opposite beach where the buoy is. Now we're going to rise up again, eventually. Although I think I'll take this... What the hey, let's take the lower path.
When I first looked into the shaft, I swear I felt the stones in my stomach shift in recognition.
Oh, okay. Well, looks like we'll have to go around this. I think I can just barely see water down there. Interesting. See if we can get around. Yep. Without falling. Yeah, you can kind of see it down there. There's definitely water down there at the very bottom. Which makes sense. You can hear the wind moaning out of it. See if there's anything on the other side. Now that time I think I heard something crash down there. Very faint. Almost like someone dropped like a metal pipe or something down there. Interesting. So you look up and we can see it appears to be a house up here. Right behind the sun.
I've begun my ascent on the windless slope of the western side. The setting sun was an inflamed eye squeezing shut against the light shone in by the doctors. My neck is aching through constantly craning my head up to track the light of the aerial. I must look downwards, follow the path under the island to a new beginning.
Oh, okay, our flashlight does work again. For some reason it just wasn't working back in that cavern. Alright, this looks like some kind of old stable, maybe? Yet here there's some surgical tools. Syringe. Narration, he was talking about a doctor. Or at least using a kind of allegory for a doctor. They look kind of more for human use, although this is in a stable, so maybe that's for a veterinarian to use or something. And there, when we just crest the side there, there's the aerial again, glowing red. And we will get to the house eventually. Let's just have a look over here. You can see there's some other pieces and islands off in the distance. Decent way to fall down there. Let me get back on the path here, or else I think I'm going to slip
The Buoy was
accidentally.
constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career. The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. There was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him either.
So this house apparently belonged to an old shepherd. He calls it a bothy. And there's more of the paint cans. Just like the lighthouse, looks to be long abandoned.
My heart is landfill. These false dawns waking into the still never light. I sweat for you in the small hours and wrap my blankets into a mass. I have always heard the waves break on these lost shores, always the gulls forgotten. I can lift this bottle to my ear, and all there ever is for me is this Hebridean music.
Old clothes, old stove. Once again, the wind making a lot of rattling sounds in the old house. Lantern, eggs, more music sheets. Some kind of... is that an X-ray? I guess. I wonder if those are X-rays of a fetus or just an interior X-ray or an ultrasound. It's kind of hard to make out. Not sure what the title of that book is, but on the coffee cup you can see once again another molecule diagram. I just heard that. That sounded like the beeps of a ER room. It's a trunk. And the sleeping bag is placed over the mattress, so perhaps this man lived here at some point. The bird's trying to make me jump again. That's a seagull. Another one of those really abstract drawings. I still can't for the life of me figure out what that's supposed to be. Nice vantage point to build the house, though. This looks like there's one more structure over here. Once again, I hear like radio static. Another weird... I'm not even sure that's a chemical formula. That looks more like diodes. Kind of like you'd see in an electrical diagram. Something from the London Clinic. But that's all I can read. So come up around here. We are making our way slowly but surely into Chapter 3. Like I said, this is not a very long game. Oh, careful, there's no fence there. Have a look. Let's see. Well, just a bunch of rocks down there on that cliffside. Ah, yes. So there, I believe, is going to be our ultimate destination down there. At least for
He
this
left his
chapter.
body to the medical school and was duly opened out for a crowd of students 21 days after his passing. The report is included in my edition of his book. The syphilis had torn through his guts like a drunk driver, scrambling his organs like eggs on a plate. But enough definition remained for a cursory examination, and, as I suspected, they found clear evidence of kidney stones. He's likely to have spent the last years of his life in considerable pain. Perhaps this is the root of his laudanum habit. Although its use makes him an unreliable witness, I find myself increasingly drawn into his orbit.
I believe he's referring to Donnelly there, the author of the book that he mentioned earlier and quoted from.
They found Jakobsen in early spring. The thaw had only just come. Even though he'd been dead nearly 7 months, his body had been frozen right down to the nerves and had not even begun to decompose. His fingernails were raw and bitten to the quick. They found the phosphorescent moss that grows in the caves deep under the nails. Whatever he'd been doing under the island when his strength began to fail is lost. He'd struggled halfway up the cliff again, perhaps in a delirium, perhaps trying to reach the Bothy's fire before curling into a stone and expiring.
So Jakobsen came to, the shepherd came to a rather bad end, it seems. Doesn't look like anything of particular note around here. Just the edge of the beach. And yet, we have a traffic cone here. And a warning sign, you know, like a danger or a hazard sign on a road. Right there. Once again, I hadn't actually come down this way before, so I just wanted to see what was to be seen. Now we'll go down the main part of the beach here. Looks like we got another wreckage of a boat here. Along with some of its contents, I guess. Looks like tons of boats have crashed here over the years. Well, again, that was really, really faint, but I think I just heard the sound of squealing tires. Once again, suggesting something to do with cars or roads.
Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broken. It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, winter tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones. I struggled back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
So when he went down to this cave area just over to the left there, it sounded like he injured himself when he fell in some place. Here, in the deepest part of the little canyon here, a whole bunch of books of Hebridean history. I wonder if this is the book that was written by Donnelly that he was talking about. I can't quite see the author name, but it wouldn't surprise me at this point. A bunch of clothing. There's that suitcase. Looks a lot like the suitcase that we saw in the bothy. So let's come around here, and we'll actually go into the cave this time. That's a dead bird, I think. Let's see where I should cross. Maybe here? It's like, I don't know, maybe some kind of luminous fungi around here. That tends to be the usual way that you illuminate caves in stories of fiction. Looks like we don't have any choice. Looks like we're going to have to go down that hole. Alright.